Today we're starting a new adventure, the adventures of Star Agent 87, and we're going to get started right after the intro. Hi folks, and welcome to Sharp Mountain Games. Here we talk about group role-playing games, solo role-playing games, and there are plenty of actual plays in the playlist. You can check out our print and PDF products at Amazon, Lulu, Drive-Thru, and Roll20, and they're all linked below. Let's get started, and we're glad you're here. So today is the start of a brand new, at least brand new for me, science fiction adventure, and it's Star Agent 87. So we have Star Agent 87, Rick Ranger, and you can see he kind of has alien eyes, but is a bit humanoid here. And he works as sort of a special agent, or he does, special jobs for the Planetary Alliance, which is an alliance of number of solar system, kind of like the Federation in Star Trek. He does the quiet jobs and the one-man kind of jobs that need to get done. And he is always accompanied by his medical robot, MDR, who he just calls Doc, and who helps patch him up and helps him with all his needs while on a mission. So those are our two characters, and I have my character cards there. And let me tell you about the system we're using. We are using SHADOWSPACE. Now, it's not on the cover. It's on the side here. I sprung for the hardcover. It wasn't that much more. And this is by Karsten Rossner. Now, what is it? It is a science fiction game that is based on Shadow Dark. So Shadow Dark is it's 5e sort of, because you do always want to roll high, but it has much more of an simplified, old school flavor, OSR, if you will. And what Karsten's done is adapted it to space opera. So if you want to play something like Star Wars or Star Trek, I think this is a great option. It's very reasonable. It's one book, and you'd be supporting an independent creator, which I'm really all about. I'm an independent publisher myself, and I really like to support others whenever I can. Throw a few bucks to the little guy once in a while, or at least some attention to the little guy. It's not only all about the big publishers, or especially a certain big fantasy publisher. So this is going to be some science fiction, so something different. And I'll show you the character cards here. I do want to get us started here in a second. And so here's Rick Ranger. And so you can see the standard strength, dexterity, constitution with the bonuses. So you roll a d20 and add your bonus there. Nothing revolutionary. And I think that's okay, because then that's a good way to bring new people into the hobby. If they're already playing a D&D style, they'll be not too unfamiliar with what to do. And I like what he does with skills, because what he does with the skills is you just roll with advantage. So rather than having to keep bumping up your numbers, and really on average it adds up to about a +3 or +4. The range is like +3 to +5. It's not a straight advantage with advantage, but I usually figure it's about a +3. And then I have some combat information over here, and if there's anything special like what they crit on or Spacer's Luck. So those are kind of where you can put in some special traits or species traits. And then we have our medical robot, RMD, excuse me, not MDR, RMD, who is our medical robot. He's not as good at combat. Oh, and he gets a free reroll, so that's good. And then I have his other companion who we haven't met yet, and she has some psionic powers. Now, the psionic powers are a little bit more loosely based in the game, but so you could affect somebody else, you can perceive something, or to channel means you're doing something like in your own body, like if in the Phantom Menace when the Jedi like quick jump out of the way and things like that. So let's get started. Let's get playing. So I'm not blabbing the whole time about the preliminaries, but I did want to, because it's a new system, I wanted to fill you in on some things. I won't do that at the start of every video. So we are going to have Rick Ranger, Star Agent 87, and his robot. We'll get the cards out of the way. And they have been called to report to the main office. And the main office, let's say it is on Mars, which is being terraformed in the process. But it's on Mars, so it's a little bit away from Earth. So this is where the quiet missions get assigned. And as they're walking, Rick is saying to RMD, I wonder what this is. He said, I wonder maybe it's a new mission. Maybe it's something really excited. And RMD, in his robot voice, I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see, perhaps. and they're going to go into the office, and their officer, their commander is Commander Biggs. So they enter and says, "Oh, well, welcome, Agent 87. We're so glad to have you here." He said, "And I have a very important, it's a mission that I don't think we need a big Starliner or Star Cruiser to go out and check things out." He said, "I think it might be better even, in case there's trouble too. We don't necessarily want to alert everybody. We want you to go in kind of quiet and kind of clandestine." He said, "It's the research station on Talarian 4. It's gone silent." He said it's a small place where they're studying some gravitic anomalies. Now, he said also, he tells you also, he says in the system there is another civilized world, so if you need to, you can stop there. Occasionally, Dr. Weston would go, they do supply runs. He has a very, very small scientific crew there. And I believe they also have like a space telescope or some space sensors on the edge of the system to study these gravitic anomalies. However, this is something new for you. He says, "We're assigning you a new recruit." And Star Agent 87, Rick says, "What? You're sending me somebody new and a rookie?" And Commander Biggs says, well, yes, it's important. He said, "Her name is Tiana Angel Star. And a thing to know is that she has some psionic abilities from her, her race. Her species has some psionic abilities. So this could come in very, very handy. She might be able to detect some things if, anything happened there. I trust that you'll be able to help her, become a really good agent here for the Planetary Alliance. And you're going to meet her. In fact, you're going to meet her at your ship, and you're going to head out immediately because this is very important." He says, "Are there any questions?" And the Star Agent Ranger says, "Well, this planet, where is it?" And Commander Biggs says, "Oh, it's very far out. It's almost to the edge of the galaxy." He said, "These are gravitic anomalies, at the edge of the galaxy." He says, "And you should know also is that Tiana is very much studied in science. So that will, I think, be a real important complement to your piloting and your other skills." As we said, there's another world in the system that's a trading world. You could possibly get information there if you need to, or you might be able to get the information you need right on the at the base too. We certainly hope nothing's happened to Dr. Weston and his crew there, but you never know. And then RMD chimes in. He says, "Well, are there any other factions in the area that we need to know about that could perhaps be dangerous?" And Commander Biggs says, yes, of course. He said, "It's very near the Graylian Empire." And, we do know the Graylians, they're a more aggressive and expansionist empire. So, there is a possibility that there was foul play there. We just don't know at this point. He said, "We need you to go and check things out." He said, "Now that other planet does have patrols, so I doubt that they would just send a large ship in because they'd certainly be detected." So he says, "If there's no other questions, I really need to leave you to get on your way." So they leave and they head and make their way back down to the docking bay. And I have this little map, but let's assume, this is a bigger complex. This only has a few rooms here, but they have some room to talk. And Rick Ranger is very, he's a partner. He said, I've done fine on solo missions by myself. He said, just you and I, we make a good team. He said, what do you think, Doc? And Doc says, "Well, if somebody has some other skills to complement, that certainly wouldn't be necessarily a horribly bad thing. Now, would it?" And Rick says, "Oh, I just don't know." He says, I'm just not used to it. And she's psionic, he says, to say the least. He says, what if she reads my mind? What if I'm having a thought and she reads my mind? And Doc seems rather confused. He says, well, what kind of thoughts are you talking about here? And Rick says, "Oh, just never mind. You wouldn't understand anyway, the embarrassment." So they're going to make their way to the docking bay. Let's put the ship in here. And standing there is a humanoid woman with kind of You can see she has kind of elfin ears there. Let me get a bigger picture here because I did make character cards for these. It's just so convenient rather than having to click on OBS to show you the picture. So it's a little bit more lo-fi, but that's all right. So she greets him. She says, hello, I'm Tiana Angel, Star Agent 87. She said, I'm very glad to meet you. And I was told that you had an RDM droid with you. And Rick says, yeah, well, I call him Doc. It's short and it's a little bit more familiar. And he says, and did they debrief you on this mission? And she said, oh, yes. They told me, what we're going to go out and look for. And he kind of also asked, he says, well, are you armed and all that? He said, these missions can be dangerous. You sure this is the lifestyle for you? And she says, well, I guess we'll see. She said, but I think, my people are very calm people and we're good under fire. So he says, well, I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. And he wants to get ready and get the ship primed and head out. So I'm going to move the book out of the way here. We may need a map from it later. So let me slide the book out of the way here. And I'm going to do a quick flip, see if I can find that other map that I'm going to need. I don't mean to take your time up. All right, there we go. Yep, but we'll deal with that when we get there. So here's my general space map here. This is just a piece of black foam core. And I spattered it with white paint. You get the white paint kind of loose and you just flick it with either a paintbrush or even an old toothbrush works great. So let's take them out into space. And I'll just put them next to the, I don't have a full ship map. I don't think you need that anyway. So here's the ship, and we'll get our dice tray and our dice ready to go here in case we need them. Who knows? So Rick is an accomplished pilot here, but everything is set up. It's not like he has to, you don't roll for standard things. Just like you or I don't roll for making a cup of tea every day, or you don't roll to make a cup of coffee or something, because the odds are pretty good that you're going to be successful. So on the way out, they talk about it, and he learns a little bit more about her home planet, and, he asks about the psionics, and she says, well, it's just something we're trained in from youth. She says, it's not necessarily something I can easily explain or, teach you. She said, right now we don't think, that just anybody can tap into it, although we could be wrong on that. So they spend the time, and he gets her set up in a separate cabin that shows her, where the food is, and there is a little exercise, a few small exercise equipment there, especially to keep in shape for their missions and all that. And there's a small cargo hold. And he says, sometimes we need this cargo hold because a lot of times I try to pass as a merchant or something along those lines to, as part of our disguise. So they are going to come out of light speed. The ship drops out of light speed, just like in Star Wars. I should mention this is not necessarily set in any Star Wars or Star Trek universe. It's, totally my own or totally general, so that there's no copyright issues here. We're not playing in another setting. So they come out, and they are at the edge of the system, and there is a bit of just like at the edge of, there's the Oort cloud, I think is how you say it, on the edge of our system. There is some space rocks and some space junk and all that on the outer, and they're working their way towards the planet Talarian 3, excuse me. And from behind one of the things, they see approaching them this flying creature in space, kind of resembling a whale, but not like a terrestrial. That's right. Yeah. Whale. This one seems to float and fly in space. And I didn't have a whale mini. I almost bought a little bag of like a whale to get a little bag of sea creatures at Dollar Tree today, but I didn't. I didn't want to just buy some more stuff. So I said, well, let's see if the Legos will work. So here you're going to have to stretch here. You're going to have to really pretend this is a star whale, but I know we can do it. And it is approaching them. So let's see what we're going to do here. What I think would happen is maybe Tiana would say, well, let me use the nature and see if my science, and see if I can make any kind of contact with it. And she gets advantage on that roll. So let's see how she does. In fact, now let me think that different. Would she use, well, let's say she would scan it first. She's going to just scan it. 9 and 9. Oh, that's funny. You don't usually get 2 like that with a, but her intelligence is +3. So I'm going to say what she gets is she gets the idea that this is, it's a natural creature. She's definitely able to, and it's able to, she says, and it's able to survive in space, she said, but I'm not getting too much more there. And it is coming, and it is going to try and bump the ship. It is perhaps very curious about the ship. So I am going to give Rick a piloting roll here to see if he can, dodge and avoid getting hit by this creature here. Oh, look at that. So his piloting, he gets advantage on that. 15, 14, that's 18. That's plenty. Plenty high enough. So he avoids getting bumped. And he says, this thing's coming after us. It thinks we're a beach ball or a toy or something. And I don't know what to do here. So he says, should we fire at it? And she says, well, let me try something else. Let me see if I can, do something to scare it away or perhaps dissuade it. So that was the first round, and they were both successful the first round. I'm going to say it's going to take 3 rounds to take care of things before things would get, let's just say would get ugly. So she is going to try and sort of reach out with her empathy to see if she can perceive its thoughts. Oh, she should not get advantage. She should not have gotten advantage with that. I'm sorry. She should just get the +3 to that. But then, yeah. So it's a +3 total. So that's a 10. So I'm going to say no, she's not able to do that. So he is going to make another pilot roll to try and avoid getting bumped. Now that he does make with advantage. So 18, yeah, the 18 is plenty high enough to do that. So he avoids getting bumped, but they didn't quite make the progress that they need to. And he says, what about you, MDR? Can you maybe, electrify the ship, or maybe you could work to we could try and send a pulse out. We want to dissuade it, but we don't necessarily want to kill it. So the robot says, well, let me see what I can do. So RDM tries that. Now he has mechanics, so he gets advantage on that. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to say that's a success. Another success for this round. So we've got 2 successes this round. That's what I'm looking for. So he is trying to, he doesn't send it out right away, because I assume this will take, a lot of time to do, or a little time anyway. And he is going to try to prevent the thing, dissuade it. So if it bumps the hull, it's going to get a zap, a shock. But Rick, of course, says, no, we don't want it to hit the ship in any way. Okay, so another round here. Rick is trying to dodge his piloting, and so that's a 15 because he's a dexterity of +3. So I'm going to say that that's all good. And then Tiana is going to try to. She's going to say, well, let me try and make contact. Let me move it away, because they are trying to flee from this thing. They don't want to hurt it. And the thing is pretty big, so they may not want to go into combat with it. So she's going to just try an effect roll. So that's going to be kind of these are not the droids you're looking for. 17 and +4 is 21. So she is able to channel through this. This is not the ship you're looking for. Whatever it's so curious about the ship here. And then I don't know that Doc is going to need to make any kind of roll here, because she's dissuaded it enough. Let's just say if it does nudge, let's see how his mechanical thing worked to electrify the ship. So maybe it gives one last nudge. No, it doesn't get electrified, but again, I'm going to just say her roll was good enough to dissuade it. So it swims out to make its space whale noises. Although in space, no one can hear a whale sing. And let's put that away. I don't know if we'll need it again another time, but we'll just set that aside. And let's bring them in, and they're going to land at the station on Tellurium 3. Now, I'm going to say that probably what they would do is try to come in low so as not to alert anybody, and perhaps not land right up on the station. That they may want to land a little bit further back to avoid things. So let me see how well Star Agent 87 does landing this ship. I'd say that's a pilot roll, which he makes with advantage. It's a good thing he had advantage because that's going to give him a 17. And the nice thing about rollover is you don't necessarily always need to set a difficulty number. If you know what the difficulty numbers are, anything greater than a 15 is pretty good. I would say in the 10 to 14 range is more of a standard success. So let me just slide things out of the way here because I have to put a map up here. I think I like this side. This is Combat Book 2. I got it on sale on Amazon. It was $30 or $32. And I really like it. The only thing I'm not crazy about or I have some trouble with is I do get a little shine from my lighting system. I haven't figured out how to make that work yet. I guess maybe I need a different kind of light, but haven't bought that yet. So we're going to land outside, away from the compound, wherever the compound is. And I'm going to build a very simple, just a few walls here, so where the research station would be. As I said, you're going to have to pretend. And if you're playing it at home, a couple things. Go take a look at SHADOWSPACE. I think it's great. I really like it. This is my first actual play test of the system. But if you've played any D20 game, it's not radically different. You just have to keep track of things. But if you want to use a different system, go right ahead. And you don't need all this stuff. All you need is somewhere to write your stuff down. If you want to keep a little, I know some people don't like to journal, fine, but you would just need a piece of paper, and maybe I like index cards for my my heroes to keep track of things. And you can see I just have a piece of cardboard here. I had an old piece of cardboard, and I just wrote my notes down, or a piece of scrap paper, whatever works for you. So they're going to land here, and Rick's going to say, "This is to Tiana." Again, not trying to be snarky, but just trying to say, he's going to say, "This is your first time out in the field, isn't it?" And she says, "Well, other than simulations, yes." In fact, let's put them over here more. He said, "Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and sneak up and scout ahead a little bit just to see what's going on." He says to her, you need to have your blaster out. RMD does not have a blaster. He can kind of wade into melee if necessary. He can go in and try and do something. But, as a medical droid, he's not usually one to wade into combat. So he is going to sneak up and see what's going on. I should also say it's a classless system, so you can kind of design your character however you'd like. So he's going to need a stealth roll, and he makes that with advantage. So let's see. 17 is good enough. See what I mean? I don't necessarily need to set a DC for everything. So he sneaks up. He can see the door. He sees that the door, let's even say that the door has been blown off. And he peeks in, and there's other rooms in the complex here. But what he can see is the place is a mess. Somebody ransacked things, and things are a problem. But I'm going to say he's not going to go in by himself yet. So he's going to scoot back here to the others and tell them, he says, "Oh, this is bad." He said, "Somebody's been here. The door is off the hinges. The place inside is a wreck." He said, we're going to have to be really careful. He said, Doc, I want you in the back. He said, you know, and the two of us are going in, blasters ready, just in case. He said, because we have to find out what's going on. He said, and when you get in there, Doc, now Doc has systems operations, so I'm going to say that's kind of like computers. He says, I want you immediately, first computer console you can find, plug yourself in and see what we get. So they get into the main area here, and Doc goes over and immediately plugs in. And they kind of scout out, and they scout around the rest of the area here. Let me pull this out so we have a little more room. Maybe I didn't design it well. And I'm going to put a little side corridor there. And I am going to see if, have her make a perception roll. And I'm going to have her make it because she has the perception there. And probably with the psionics, that would give her a little bit of an advantage. Oh, look at that. I got a 20 on the one. So that's always nice. That's one of the nice things about rollover, that you get the good feeling for a 20. I guess it's different than getting a good feeling for a 1 and a roll under. And she perceives, she says, there's danger up ahead. He says, all right, well, we've got to face it. So they have their blasters out, and stepping out, hidden from one of the alcoves, is a droid. He is armed. And I'm thinking of, you know, IG-88, the bounty hunter droid from the Star Wars series. Kind of looks something like that. And he is going to open fire. And I'm going to also say he has 2 guns. So, you know, 1 in each arm. So he can fire at them. So Rick is going to say, okay, get down. And he's going to try and find something to cover under. I'm not using full cover rules or things like that. I think that can get a little bit crazy. And let's see what happens here. So he is going to fire. So he gets a +4 on his pistol. And what is that? 5 and 4 is 9. That is not enough to beat the armor class of the droid. You see it's using the regular armor class, just like always. Okay, so now the droid is going to fire back. He is +4 and has a D8 for the damage there. I probably could have rolled that all at once. Does he hit 12? No, he does not hit, because his armor class is a little bit higher, 15. Okay, so she is going to try the same thing. She's only +1 with her pistol. And he's going to be able to fire at her. And does she hit? No. And does he hit? Yes. He hits her for 5 points of damage. So I've got to keep a record here. So I have Tiana. I have Star Agent 87. So 5 points of damage takes her down to 8. He's still at 13. And the good doctor is still at 9 HP. Now, Doc sees this happening. So he is going to unplug and see if there's something that he can do. He doesn't want to get in too close because he doesn't want to get blasted. But I think he is going to look around and see if there's not something he can throw. Now, I'm going to say that's what he's able to do this round, because he has to unplug. That's going to take time. All right, so Rick is going to try his blaster pistol again. He does not want to get too close to this fella. I guess I should write down the droid's hit points too. Okay, 18. Yeah, he hits for 1 point of damage. That's nothing. But he also gets hit for 7. So this droid really is a nasty piece of work here. Must be an assassin droid. They probably left it here in case anybody was coming back. It's quite a mouthful during combat, isn't it? All right, so Tiana is going to fire again. She's thinking about, could she do something psionically to try to distract it? But she's just not sure. Maybe she's even a little flustered since this is her first combat encounter that she misses, and she takes 4 points of damage there. Ooh, because that's that critical where you double the damage. I believe it's double. I don't believe it's full damage. And if Karsten gets to watch this, he's also solo spelunking on YouTube. Again, all that's going to be linked below. He can tell me what's wrong here. But I think what's going to happen is he is going to try and distract the other robot. In fact, maybe he's going to send out a signal using systems operations. Like he's going to send out a very annoying or distracting signal, and he gets a +3. No, he gets advantage and a +3, so that's pretty good. And will that work? 17 + 3 is 20. Yeah, not a natural 20, a dirty 20, if you will. So that distracts him. If it was a full 20, I was going to give him disadvantage. So that's going to give him disadvantage. And let's see. So for him hitting Rick here. So Rick is going to take his shot. 20 for 6 points. Okay, he gets a good shot at that robot. Now the robot is going to have to do it at his shot at disadvantage at our star agent. And disadvantage, good. Good, because even with the +4, he does not hit. So the good doctor was able to contribute at least something in this fight because it's against a robot. Now, she is going to fire, but he is going to not have disadvantage on his roll. So she needs really high. He hits her for 4. She is down. Ugh. And let's see if he says, I'm gonna try to increase the frequency to make sure he can't do anything to you. So let's see. So that's systems op. We got to roll at advantage with the skills. Yep, he's fine. So our assassin robot is at disadvantage. I'm going to just roll them all at once here and see how we do. See if his shot is enough. Let's see. So 10 and 14 and 7. He takes him down. And the assassin droid only got a 1, so that's good. So our star agent is in good shape here. And he says to, Doc, we got to get her back to the ship. This is her first mission. So Doc picks her up and he says, Come on. I think I have enough data here. I can tell you more about it, but we have to attend to her first. So he's going to take her to the ship. He said, I don't know if there's anything more we can see. So Doc takes her to the ship to patch her up. And I'm going to just hand wave to move things along because I am watching our time. So our star agent 87 goes back and he looks around. He sees, yeah, the place has been ransacked. The best he can tell is that there were 3 scientists working here. So that would have been Dr. Weston and maybe 2 assistants or 2 graduate students. And, nothing was taken from here. And he also, he has security systems. So let me just give a roll there to see with security systems if he would know anything. That's usually like breaking into something. Okay, but I'm going to say with the breaking into it kind of thing, he's had some experience underneath the hood, hot wire and things and all that. So he pulls out the main module from this assassin droid and takes it back to the ship. Now, he did not detect any other foul play. He does say, he's saying, I think we should take off. I think we should get into the air because, if they know that their assassin robot has been taken out, they may come back. He said, but, I got the main thing, the main control thing. Perhaps we could even use that and see if there was a signal coming to it or what the origin of the signal was. And Doc says, yeah. He says, but let me patch her up first and then we'll do that. So I think that's a great place. And like I said, I'm looking at our time. It's about a little more than a half an hour to stop for this adventure. So they did have some success, but they had a little bit of trouble. That assassin droid was pretty tough. He had 2 guns and guns a-blazing. So they do have some possible information about what might have been stolen, what was going on here, what the recent findings were, and also maybe where that combat robot was getting his signal from. But I think we'll see all of that next time. I thank you for watching. Go check out SHADOWSPACE and Solo Spelunking's channel. Please, please, please leave a comment below or leave a like and a comment if you have the time. If you like these new characters, that's great. Or if you have some gentle suggestions for areas for growth, that's fine too. And we will see you next time. Have a great rest of your day.